I'll start today's session. So hi everyone, good evening to all the participants in both in Microsoft Teams and also in FB Live. So hope you are safe and sound there. I'm Hui-En and I have a partner with me today is Rami.
Hello, I'm Rami. Thanks for tuning in to our SABE lecture series for the year 2021. We'll be your chat moderators for today. So today we have invited a special guest to share with us about material dialogues in architectural crafts, Wendy Teo. He's a UK ARB/RIBA Chartered Architect, Curator, Researcher, and Tutor that sees embedding social cultural dialogue, informing architecture as her ultimate pursuit. Her works have been translated into various mediums such as and scale throughout her commitment with Foster and Partners, Divooe Zein Studio, Borneo Art Collective, Taiwan Architect Magazine, and CanopyU.
Yeah, so with Wendy Teo Atelier, her architectural practice and Borneo Laboratory Curatorial Body, she's interested in developing projects with participatory model, vernacular wisdom, sensible fabrication, and anthropological insight. So her practice is centered with an approach that allows caring for earth, sensibility for material, and bonding with local craftsmanship.
So before we begin, we have a few reminders for everyone here. Firstly, we are more than happy to receive questions and comments since we'll be having a Q&A after the sharing session. Also, all the questions will be forwarded during that session, so feel free to post your questions, comments, and in the chat box on Facebook and both MST throughout the lecture, and we'll make sure to get to them by the end. So for more information on Wendy Teo, you can follow her online presence on Instagram /WendyTeoBT or BorneoArtCollective.org, WendyTeo.com. And for more information on SABE events, you could go on the SABE_UCSI Instagram and also the Facebook. So make sure now you stay hydrated, get your pen notebook ready, jot down any notes and questions you have. So let's sit back and enjoy the lecture.
Yeah, so then we'll hand the floor to Wendy Teo.
Okay. By the way, can I share the screen?
Yeah, it's
yes, you are sharing.
Am I sharing? Oh, am I? Okay, sorry.
Sure. Yeah. You're sharing, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, because just now when I was talking to Yusra, it seems to be breaking a bit. So I hope like later on when we're viewing the video, you are okay. If not, I probably will just quickly go through it, and then you can watch a video on the link that I will send to the chat box. So yeah, thanks for having me today. And if you're interested in knowing more in depth about, because I think today I'm just going to show more of the progress and also on the processes in the design and make chapter, and also some of the curatorial project we have. Yeah. So if you're interested in knowing more in depth, you can go to my personal website. So I'm going to split this talk into two parts. So the first part is more about the some of my work from previously when I was in UK, and then after that, like when I moved back to Borneo. Yeah, so Antonio Collardini, I don't know how many of you knowing this sculptor and also the sculpture he has been making. So for me, it's very eye-opening to see like someone from the Renaissance age. In fact, they managed to look at the marbles. Marble is such a very strong material, but then when you look at how the mastery of his craftsmanship, he managed to tell you this is a silk material. So how to achieve that in the digital fabrication and also the digital design thinking was one of the pursuit of what I used to involve a lot in. This is 10 years ago. Yeah, RIBA study when I was still in Bartlett, looking at the computational models and looking at how the digital models can mimic some of the natural and object, or some of the natural phenomenons like ripples. So these are some of the study that I did. And then also I was spending a lot of time looking at the how to work with different machine. Yeah, so with this one is work with CNC machine, and of course it's by the end of it, there's a lot of hand manual process of doing the sanding in order to make sure it is nice enough. Yeah, so it was being featured in London's Divooe chart. So you can see when you look at it from afar, it seems like a fabric, but in fact it was a sculpted pieces. So and I go on with that pursuit with by by going to take out different tutorship in different area in Europe. So during that time, I was exposed to a chance that like I can travel and teach, and also like working with different workshop around Europe. So in Turkey, Alanya, this is one of the piece we worked for 5 days. I remember like and with 8 students around Europe. So we were looking at like how to put together something like quite quickly in 5 days. So it was an exercise of like of joinery and tectonic, and just looking at like some of the material that is available there. And then after that, like this work was done in Slovenia. Yeah, so within I think this one is also with 5 days, for 5 days or less than that. I think we spent 2 days like having fun, and then 3 days like really doing really serious about like putting something together. So that was in 2012. Yeah, so looking at how the model, the physical model can be done in 3 days through the help of like grasshopper, and also so some coding was involved in the process, and also looking at the material. And it was being featured in Contemporary Art Museum Plaza. So 12 students from Cyprus, Greece, Turkey, Romania. Yeah, so that is the situation. Yeah, so we need to identify, and also we need to make sure we can find the components, the right components to put that together. So it was also a process to expose students to like how coding can help along the fabrication. Yeah. And then after that, like I was invited to do some show, and also to do some project. This one was in New Orleans. So it was a collaboration, because I was still studying in Berkeley. So I thought like I just asked my friend Ming Lee from Chicago School of Art to do a collaboration, so he can deliver it in New Orleans. Yeah, so I think like digital fabrication and also this project, in a way, because of the specialization of that skill, it does at one point, like it does kind of bring me to different places, which I was quite happy about. But then yeah, and this is my final project when I was in Berkeley. So I was already start looking at like engaging different ephemeral condition. Like for example, this one was with the water. Like when you put the hot water into the envelope, it will give you this kind of like the steam, the condensation process will end up like turning the facade becoming a bit like translucent rather than transparent. So how could that becoming a condition we can look at for our facade, and how could we work with sensor to look at like you know how the algae can be part of the facade expression. Yeah, but you know, I mean, it was fun. It was also like a lot of like experimentation. That was also what I enjoy, and it brought me to different places. But at one point I was thinking like, you know what, how do we bring those things into Borneo, and also how do we kind of like start looking at, you know, the context of Borneo, since this is also my beloved hometown. Yeah, so a few years ago I started like Borneo Lab. So it's a lab like for the Borneo aesthetic, because I realized if we want to be more in depth about the construction, and also be more in depth about architecture, it's not simply just the fabrication will suffice. You will need to learn more than that. Yeah. So it was inspired by a concept called Berjala. Berjala is like you going through a big trip in order to have more conversation, to be more exposed to different situations. So through that process, your life value, and also you as a person, you will be becoming more mature when you come back from that big trip. So I kind of wish the practice is growing through constant conversation and like constant negotiation. But you know, negotiation could be good, like if you put it in a good way. Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly explain like what we do. Yeah, so we do design service. We work with furniture brand. We now also work with creative brand. Yeah, and we work with festival body, developers, and individual clients. And when it's come to because we want to make sure that we have those conversations, so it means that we need to expose to more people. Like, so curatorial direction actually help us to engage with different body, like NGO, cultural agency, or festival bodies. And for the research workshop, like that has enabled us to work with university. and also design and make like artisan and designer. Yeah, sorry my background because it's raining right now. Yeah, and by the end of it, we want to make sure we can document everything because we realize, you know, by looking at like what happening to Borneo or generally in Malaysia, there's a lot of amazing things was being done, but they weren't being documented properly. So we do realize that an urgency of like putting, you know, legit fabrication to be shared to more people. So we have done our second book, like Borneo Lab book, like before the pandemic. Yeah. So now we are planning for our third book. Yeah. So these are some of the outcome like from the project, from the direction that we have. So today I'm just going to pick some of them to elaborate. Yeah. So for the design approach, right? Thanks for the earlier introduction. So I've been focusing on like participatory models and also the materiality. Yeah. So I'm just all the time because I think this talk also offered me a chance to kind of review some of the work we did, and I felt that like all the time we had been crafting a gathering. So maybe start from a small project, a community art project in Guangzhou. So 2 years ago, I was invited to do. Oh, it's already 2 years ago. But it's 2020 though, when the exhibition opened. Like so 2 years ago, in 2019, like December, I was invited to do a show in Guangzhou Fei Art Museum. So with Fei Art Museum, they were trying to the gallery itself is quite experimental. So they were looking at like turning the tower they have, like some of the public spaces and some of the spaces supposed to be public but not being accessible by a lot of people. They want to turn that as part of activate that as part of their museum. So that's why they invited artists and architects to look at like potential solution together. Yeah, so I was one of the invitee. So I was looking at the fire staircase as a potential site because I thought with the fire staircase is the place that people normally will spend their private time in. Yeah, but it's very intimate, but at the same time is also a public space. So I kind of like that duality. Yeah. So what and also there's another pragmatic consideration was I wasn't there, so I would need someone to deliver it. And I realized like, you know, what with the work we do, we constantly need to be like alongside the craftsmen to make sure things are done well. Yeah, because of the, you know, a lot of project of us are requiring a lot of custom made effort of spirit. But with this one, I need to make it minimal to enable the meanings of participatory model. So I set out a 120 meter long of the blackboard, just kind of done alongside the staircase, so people can draw them. And also we invited the community, the art community, to work together. So this like the participants was like working together like for 2 days. Yeah, so we managed to kind of like looking at like fill out the whole thing with drawings, and it's still constantly changing, and now it's becoming a permanent like installation for the museum. So if you ever go to Guangzhou, you will be managed to see it. So another project that I want to share about is the instrument. So I think like from the previous project, the community project in Guangzhou, is like sometimes you just need to work with like what you have, and just to make sure that like because I think as an architect, like we always are anxious about the quality being delivered. So if the quality being driven, you kind of like thinks that it will be compromised because of your absence, then you need to reconsider like how things can be reorganized in a certain way to make sure the quality being driven. And with this project, the anxiety is different, because the anxiety is like to 2018, I was commissioned to do a bamboo pavilion. So I thought that was exciting because, you know, to do one bamboo pavilion with the bamboo material I never used and also I never had experience with. So how could we do it? And also very exciting because during that time, like there is a lot of like bamboo structure and architecture being made or constructed around Southeast Asia. So I thought that could be a chance to kind of like learning about the material. So I kind of put together the design, yeah. But then I realized in Kuching, there's no one can do it because despite we have a lot of bamboo, despite bamboo was used to be one of the dominant like structural material, but nowadays people just go for like steel or concrete as the main structure rather than the bamboo. So I realized we will need to work with the community. We will need to relearn how to do it. So with this project, I travel and also learning how to do it, and also work with some of the community members like outside Kuching to pick up. So for them, the challenge is to pick out the skill again because they lose their skill, you know, due to the transition. Yeah, so at the end, we put together something like this within 2 weeks, 3 weeks time. Yeah. So we also learned that like just as what I mentioned just now, like with all this process, because you know that this is it will be part of the design and development, research and development process. So you ought to document it properly. So we put together a book, like not simply talk about bamboo, but against different material, because during that time, I also invited like a few artisan designers to work together on developing different material study. Yeah, so that book was funded by Kickstarter. So if you're interested in like, you know, picking out some of our book, like you can also check out our website, or you can go to Mano Plus. Yeah. So to get the book, and another project, like as a continuation of that dialogue, is celebrating the origin project. So it is a bamboo pavilion at the city center of Kuching. Yeah. So if you've been to Kuching, you will realize that people always refer their address as like, yeah, I live in second mile, or I work in third mile, and I hang out in first mile. It's all referring to the center point we have, like, which is the 0 mile. Yeah, so this is how the 0 mile look like. This is also our site as well. So again, this time around, I used the recycle, like some of the detail. I used to develop the instrument and develop something like quite straightforward, I would say, because it's like all repeated structure, but of course like with a different height, like done with the grasshopper. So we managed to see a ripple-like curve. Yeah. So with this project, the main effort goes into like designing a participatory process. So it means that we will need to communicate with more people, because at that point I was more interested in passing down the skill rather than like, you know, just taking all the skill like and do our own thing or forget about it. Like it will be more meaningful if the skill along the process is passed down to more people. So with this design, I think the design is actually looking at like how could we enable more people, despite they are not from architectural background, they can work on this project together. So it has been quite, the process was quite heartwarming because it was attended by 60 people around Borneo, and then I mean, most of them never see each other because they come into like the construction in different phase. Yeah, so within 2 weeks time, despite this is actually bigger than the last one, within 2 weeks time was being done. The entire thing was being done. Yeah, so it was placed in the city center, and with the background of the colonial building, and when we were looking at the natural material to reframe the origin. So that was also why it was quite meaningful, and there was also a performance on the launching day. Yeah. Yeah, so apart from the local project, we were also looking at, we also realized we need to spend some time to look at like some global issue and some like to have some attitude with it and to kind of like give a. So over here, I'm going to play a video. Hopefully you can view it. Can you hear the sound?
No, actually, no sound is coming through.
No sound? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm.
You have to share again.
Yeah.
So when you
Okay.
share, so you click the include sound. So you got to stop sharing.
Okay, I stop sharing, and then.
Yeah, then when you share, there's a little button there to include sound.
Oh, interesting.
Include computer sound, I think, something like that.
Okay, let me try it. Yeah. So interesting.
Yeah, you got include computer sound.
Borneo Lab is a multidisciplinary
We can hear now.
platform.
Yes.
Can hear?
Over the last 2 years, we have been working with designer, artisan,
Yeah, I'm just going to like make it full screen so you can see it clearer. Yep.
Borneo Lab is a multidisciplinary creative platform. Over the last 2 years, we have been working with designer, artisan, filmmaker from all around the world on regional collaboration. Our base is in Kuching City, Borneo. In this coming April, we are traveling to Singapore for our next project, Sketcher Sundown Festival. We believe this is the best suited place for innovating upon the potential of plastic waste.
We keep thinking about how to actually address this issue of plastic pollution. When we came across Bope and saw what they do in Chiang Mai, we just realized it was the perfect collaborative opportunity. They harvest plastic waste and then use those as raw material to create a series of these hexagonal panels. We are using 400 of these plastic panels and turn them into a pavilion.
Everyone can see like at the plastic that they throw, that they think it's no value. Now it has many value and very beautiful things.
I think we have to take up this challenge where we have to take this material after it's being used. They don't consider it as a waste, but there is a second life, there is a third life.
After the festival, the installation will be dismantled and then donated to Epic Home as constructional material. Epic Home is a non-profit organization based in Malaysia, building homes for community who needs them. We believe the world is too small to be defined by one narrative. By working together as a community, we can make a difference.
Yeah. So these are some of the material like we came up with like through the process, like harvesting the waste. Yeah. So I think with this project, like the realization is like when we manage to work with like some of the corporate, actually like the influence can be bigger as well, and also we can actually mobilize more, like because if we manage to get them to kind of subscribe for some of the vision that we're trying to put out there. Yeah, so with Tea House, it's also another project we work with corporate, but we because of the confidentiality, like we can't say like which one. Yeah, so with this project, like it was inspired by the Book of Tea. So the Book of Tea, over chapter 4, it was talking about like how the tea house is in fact the most unimpressive one, in terms of the appearance. But when it comes to like the detail and also the people like you work with to build a tea house, in fact, it is a very fine craftsmanship, like to enable different aspects. So this is tea house. The presence of tea house in many Japanese buildings enable the industry of the craftsmanship and also the workmanship. So that's why, like their flower art and also the tea art and the and different type of artisan to build the landscape and the building, like developing their skill in order to put together good standard tea house. Yeah. So of course with the curation of the tea master. Yeah. So with this project, like we're trying to look at like, yeah, how could we show something like seemingly very simple, subtle, but yet like taking a lot of time and also a lot of like spirit to look at like how can we put together something. Like for example, with this project, like we were looking at how to put together the entire structure without using any single like bolt and nuts. Yeah. So the entire piece can be dismantled. Like this entire thing could be constructed within a day. Yeah. And also so if you look at the structure of it, you can tell like, yeah, there is a lot of like paying a lot of homage to the let's say the Chinese temple like Dogong structure. Yeah, so we were working closely with our steel guy and also our carpenter to enable so this is also a challenge. We thought like, you know, after 2 years like working with craftsmanship, it's the time to kind of like bring back some of the skill, some of the challenge. And a lot of time they were so busy with the, let's say, the ID work or the commercial work, so they didn't really get time to kind of really properly spend time to look at like what can be achieved. Yeah, so with this project we managed to kind of like look at like what they're capable of, so it's quite interesting. Yeah, and this is the outlook of it. You might have seen like which brand we were working with. Yeah, so with another project, Ting and Ting. So this is where we are at the moment. We intended to set out a My Factory. So maybe to give you a little bit background of Ting and Ting's like space, and also it previously was a supermarket running for 75 years. So it's a heritage building. Yeah, so if you know about our story, like from 2018 to 2020, we were using this space, and then it was renovated from a residential house into an art space. But the problem with it is whenever we do event, a lot of people when a lot of people attended, it's kind of causing the traffic in the neighborhood. So I was always the one that being blamed. So back in the mind, like I was thinking, you know what, at one point we need to move out because it's just not practical, and also is potentially, I mean, we were probably at one point being seen as a nuisance already. Like but of course, like I think it's half. The neighborhood, we half of the neighborhood they are with us, but the other half, like they thought, why all of a sudden creating such traffic to the site, to the neighborhood. I think there are some stories similar in KL as well. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Nuisance. So you were nuisance to the community.
I mean, like I'm just kind of phrasing it that way because I just want to be like really honest. We like, despite we want to have like good things, and also our heart is with the art scene of Kuching, but you know what? Like we are bringing a lot of crowd into the residential zone, and imagine the car park. There's no car park, and then so where's the car? Yeah, so they park in front of other people's houses. So I just want to be like candid about like what was the situation, because I think you can find similar situation in KL. There's and our residential area is not designed for handling that. Yeah. So yeah, maybe a little bit about our story. Like 2017, we started as a online documentation with the crowdfunding resources, and then since then we also launched our publication department, released our second book with crowdfunding, as you saw just now, and then we launched our tangible space and platform since 2018. So there was also a time that like I was already back, like and with that we do research workshop, art performances, art residency, and we launching a series of urban discourse through some curation of art and architecture. So with this project, because we like immediately after seeing the space, we thought, you know what, that could be the potential lab, like, and this is also can be a space that we experimental with. But then COVID happened. So we were thinking, like, if you look at our history, you will realize that in fact we were already online platform for quite a while when I was still in London. So things was working. We can easily go back to that stage and not doing so much like tangible things offline. Yeah. So, but then at the same time, we also experience a lot of development conversation, meaningful conversation, when we move to offline, when we move on offline and doing things with the community. So we sort of kind of like, you know, in a dilemma of that. But then October 2020, so that was the time that Kuching got better. Like, so a lot of like restriction already loosened a bit. So we moved back to offline and decided to take out the lease anyway. Yeah. So we turned it into a thing and thing. Yeah. So with the sale of thing and thing, we also work with a series of like craftsmen that we've been working with. And during the lockdown, because we can't really go to them much, so we decided to kind of like looking at different spaces as potential to showcase their talents. Like, for example, this one is tinsmith. So I think in Malaysia, like there's only a few places still have the tinsmith craft and also the tinsmith like design development. So this is also something that we were looking at. So we turned that into our display board. So now we are using that for our display. Yeah. So with this one, like I think we are quite lucky in Borneo because we get different type of timbers, and those are the timber. Like if you look at the plywood we have, is actually came from different type of timber. So the beauty of it is, I mean, it's quite self-evident. Yeah, so we were collaborating with the Kuching Carpentry, like to look at how to display the material beauty. And another thing that like later on I will talk more is the soil project. Like so at this point we are also interested in the soil material as how could, and I still remember like when working on this, like I think there's a lot of like question about why is this material meaningful, but the moment we showcase like soil as the material and as the raw material, I think people are kind of like is very humbling in because it's not necessarily something that like you can buy from the shop, but then is something that you can get from your backyard. Yeah. And yeah, so there are some in-house fund as well, because at that point we couldn't go out, and we have our facility, we have our laser cutter and 3D printer, and we work with some CNC people. So we still managed to get like some of the experimentation going. Yeah. And with the steel tradesman, like we were experimenting with like how could we bend the steel to a level that like it can be like really nice lighting. So this is kind of set the tone of our flow gallery. Yeah, and also some furniture design with leftover material. Yeah, and yeah, so at the moment, this is how it is like our studio, our white space, and our performing art space, our exhibition, our art residency, and our cafe is not here yet. Yeah, so yeah, like all the time, like when we were setting out the thing and thing, we knew that there is a message that we're trying to tell other people. It's like, you know what, at the moment of despair or at the moment of victory, remember this too shall pass. And I think is so despite the situation, we're trying to like make sure people can act out of love rather than fear, because I think a lot of people is kind of acting out of like pessimistic like or fear. But I think it's very important, like as we take out the building in the city center, it itself should be not simply a visual manifestation, but also something that embed the meanings of like what it means in the city center. So that's why we also launch a series of things with the community as well. Like for example, urban green pocket planting is beautiful, something that we're trying to tell the community. So last year October, we saw these articles like from El País talking about like simulating a series of scenario, like how people will get infected and also how coronavirus spread through the air. Yeah, so we realized like most of the situation happen in the enclosed space. So if you look at like Malaysia, urban space, public realm DNA, most of the time it is about like enclosed space. So how could we pop in more like outdoor spaces, and then they could also be hangout spaces for more public mass. Yeah, so that's why we propose like to have two structure actually, like, but at the moment the only one that built is the rooftop, and the other one is ongoing. Yeah, so I'm going to play. And with this project, we also make it into a city-wide like participatory project that we collect 1,500 plastic bottle from across the city. Oops, with different with the help of different organizations, shopping mall, hotels. So we partners with like, I think most of it, probably all of them. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, so we launched this campaign, and now we have more than 3,000. I think it's already beyond that. The number is already beyond that. Yeah, so the whole idea is like setting up a food bank eventually, but I think it has to be like done through an incremental like process to making sure that like we have the community to run it. So at the moment the community already grew from 6 to 20, but because recently we just loosened up the restriction, the MCO. So we will see like how can we get going again. Yeah, but it's all right, because at the moment we are still planting, and then we are setting up satellite like garden respectively, and then when we gather again, we can set this up together. Yeah, so the structure itself also carry the metaphor of butterfly. Yeah, because it's very important that like we think like a butterfly rather than the caterpillar. So I don't know whether you know this phrase, like, so there's one of my favorite quote is like caterpillar thinks that it's already end of the world, but butterfly knows that it's only the beginning. Yeah, so I think despite entering the new normal, we will need to kind of operate in a different way, more creatively. Yeah, so people can sit over here, like spending time over here, and these eventually will be populated with more like bring like this one, some of the prototype we made last year. Yeah, so it will also comes with the irrigation system, so it's kind of self-running. Yeah, so this entire thing like can be installed within a day. It took us like 3 days because we were waiting for material and also the logistic. Yeah, so since this thing is done like during the COVID-19, so it's very important to make sure that like, yeah, we make sure the thing is quite effective, like people not spending too much time over the construction site. Yeah, so the entire idea is like to enable a manifestation through the visibility of positive transition. Like that positive transition is like you're seeing things growing, and you're seeing like things being collected, like plastic bottle being donated and being transformed into the planters. Yeah, and the moment people see the structure and also the grain carried by it, like hopefully it will be also a meaningful impact to the community. Yeah, it is how it's look like. Yeah, so this is the view from the bottom. Yeah, and another structure that is like we are still working on is this one. So we will announce it soon. Yeah, so for the curatorial direction, we are looking at like engaging more people. Yeah, so over here I'm going to share 3, like how do we enable SAW, and I will share it through the video. What I like about Borneo material, it's always constantly changing because of our climate, the constant rain, and also the exposure of sunlight. For example, Belian is continuously changing its texture. They're very strong. They're also very persistent as well. The Borneo craft at the moment is pretty much underexplored. If we want to move further, I think there is a lot of conversation ought to take place. Either it is from within or like coming from outside to come in. Patapian, they always use bamboo, but how about like using bamboo in Borneo to look at the potential of like merging bamboo with tin? Jip, if you look at her work, there's a lot of like very region-specific lacquer use. How could that lacquer like bring to Borneo and then use on the craft over here? Beiwan, Plum and Chi, they are quite playful in whatever they do. There's a lot of association with how could they mix different materials together. Julian, the founder of We Artisan Society, and how could he working with the Indonesia Kalimantan craftsmen and to bring it over to share the expertise with rattan maker around Kuching. Wilson from Chi, one of the most prestigious timber workshop of Taiwan. So he will work with like the Belian timber over here. Kang Kang from Divooe Zein Studio, he look at like timber bark to put timber bark in spatial use rather than just stay on the decorative level. 6 designers from Thailand and Taiwan. Within 20 days, they have to bring out the conversation between their respective region and Borneo.
For Kuching, like you have a lot of people, like different nationality in one city, different food, different languages.
Chinese people, Malayu people, and indigenous people, they mix together.
不同的族群，然后交流之后出了新的食物，我觉得这是一件很特别的一件事。
The identity of the group of people is really impact me, and I feel that they can live together.
And they like a friend and family. It's quite interesting for us to see that.
Very interesting for us. Like you guys already blend in everything together.
It is a lot of different group of people in Borneo and also in Kuching. This kind of thing I would like to bring this together to keep in my product. I think lacquer from Thailand is just like the beach to put two things that looks totally different. I mean wood and broken ceramics. But the material that's very interesting that I found here is timber. I mean Belian timber.
我使用的木头是比莲是一个比较坚硬的木头，它本身的纹理方向是交错的。
We think it's definitely beautiful wood, but it could be more than just a solid wood or
more than a like big piece of
furniture.
Yeah,
more than big piece of furniture.
一般家具是比较方正的，然后我想比较细致的，就是有很多线条上面是需要比较多手工的部分。
We wanna introduce the new way of this to be more like a small object.
People can easily touch and like feel the materials, something like that. Yeah.
The concept of movement is from Ngajas dance, which is a traditional dance of Iban's people. We try to reinterpret in our way. It's like a mix past and future together.
One of the local indigenous community, which is called Kenya, they practice a farming technique called the swidden. They will cut down a small area of the forest, and then they will grow their food there for a few years. And then after that, they will move on. Just before they leave, they will plant rattan in order to rehabilitate the damaged forest. Rattan, besides being a material that we can use for making furniture, baskets, and everyday objects, rattan have this amazing ability to heal damaged forests. And that is something I found really, really amazing. and a really important idea I wanted to integrate into the project for Rainforest Fringe Festival.
想用这个材料，然后让观者来看的时候，可以感受到其实这就是你们当地的树皮。那我希望他们可以感受到早期他们可能在住在长屋的时候，盖屋顶的时候，他们也是会用到树皮这个材料，然后就是让大家回忆那一段。那其实我来当地的时候才发现，其实这个树皮其实很不容易找，不管是国宅怎么做，就是有很多热带雨林，为什么会这个材料会就是没有一直被你们当地运用？
We have a chance to work with Tinsmith people, and we work with Uncle Ho. He told us about he has like 3 sons, 1 daughter, but no one want to do tin anymore.
The owner of this last remaining rattan shop, he mentions that 10 years ago, where we are now in Jalan Bishopsgate, there used to be quite a few rattan makers and rattan sellers. But nowadays, this is the last remaining rattan shop.
I think one of the challenge of Borneo craft scene at the moment is like people always perceive that if you're not doing lawyer, architect, or doctor, then you're not doing well. These craftsmen, they would rather to give up their skill, and it's a huge problem.
Encourage or sharing inspire together to engage young and senior one. That is very important to continue this.
Next generation have to see what they have and develop and evolve for the future.
希望这些工艺不要消失，那我觉得他们可以继续保留下来，然后继续做更多的变化。
To step outside of our comfort zone and to reimagine what this material can do.
By doing so, it will bring in more awareness, and also the local people interested in asking the question, like, what can we bring to the table? Yep. So that was the outcome came from the redesigning Bornean craft. Yeah. So this is actually part of the like 2-part series. Like so we were commissioned to do like redesigning Bornean experience, redesigning Bornean aesthetic. So the first part of it is like 2018 redesigning Bornean craft. And then the second part was like redesigning Bornean experience. So more looking at the intangible aspect. Over here, we were looking at like the education parts, like which is passing down the like the bamboo construction technique to the community, and also the taste, like to set out the fine dining, to engage the local chef, like to put together the fine dining. And experience, and when it's come to read, is put together the propagation, yeah, like to kind of pass down to more people. And when it's come to sense, it's like looking at the timber material and to extract the smell, the sense like from it. So these are the series of things that we have done like during the event. So it's also enabled us to look at like material beyond just like a constructional material itself. Like so how could we bring out the experiences? How could we bring out the potential message and its community meanings, like to the program. And currently we are putting together an exhibition for Narrative of Soil. So this is also a project that like I was speaking about. Yeah. So when it comes to this project, it's very interesting because when we were looking at soil, right, a lot of time, like when we were submitting like for proposal, like for this one, we were submitting it for British Council, and then they were reviewing our project as like, since one of the criteria for that program is to be innovative, and when they were looking at soil is the material that we want to work with, they were like, some of them are a bit skeptical because it's like they weren't sure that like how soil can be innovative. Yeah, but I still remember vividly, like on that day, I was mentioning exactly that kind of doubt is our intellectual enemies. Because a lot of time, when it's come to innovation, we always perceive that it has to come from certain impression or carry certain feature. Yeah, so it's already dictating like how we look at like we overlook all this like humble material. And at the same time, we know that with humble, subtle material and the material that we can find everywhere, if we can manage, we can manage to make something innovative out of it, like it will be more impactful. Yeah. So later on, I think like with the project, with this research project, we were looking at a worldwide like scale, and I will show you the video.
那在世界各地呢，甚至包括台湾的原住民，那他们的神话里面都有提到，我们人的身体呢所组成的这个元素里面，除了来自于水跟空气以外，其他都是来自于土。
Soil is like one of the basics materials we have on Earth. The interest that I have as a designer, triggering other to think about their experiences with soil.
My projects all seem to gravitate without intention towards mud. The majority of my practice sort of is looking at the intersection between like design and technology and nature, create more symbiotic relationships between the two.
So yeah, it's happening in Ting and Ting. Like hopefully, like when the SDMC allowed us to do the exhibition, so we've been kind of following up like with SDMC. Yeah, so we are putting together this exhibition this year. So this is actually the first time we show it like to the public. Yeah. So if you happen to be in Kuching, like stay tuned and we can show you more. Yeah, so if you're interested in knowing more about our project, you can feel free to come to the website borneoartcollective.org. Yeah, and like we have been lucky because over the last few years, like we've been working with a lot of recurring partners, and they've been also constantly wanting to work together on harnessing the conversation, and we believe the idea like this, like if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Yeah. So if you're interested in collaboration or art residency, yeah. So feel free to send in your proposal and portfolio to Borneo Art Collective at gmail.com. That's it for my talk, my sharing today. Yep. Okay. Yusra.
Thank you, Wendy. Yeah. I mean, I think, there are not many kind of practices out there that's like, kind of constantly, engaging with, research work as well. I mean, like, if you're doing research with, certain publication, I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
Honestly, really, honestly, maybe I'm not aware of other practices who kind of, who does that. So I think, you're championing kind of, Borneo.
Championing. Thank you.
Not championing, like, in a way, so I think, they are indebted, not indebted, but yeah, I think it's great to have, I think over here we have like, people like Grimace concentrating on what? Orang asli, right? The orang asli.
Actually, we are working with them. We are working with them together, like on our latest project. But we can only announce it because it's not fitting the theme. But it's also something that we're very excited about. But it's more anthropological, like anthropological focus. So it's not really like related to what we want to share, what we can share today. Yeah. So Grimace is also a very good group, like Wendy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, but they are concentrating on like orang asli. Craft, right? Yeah. I mean, but also you have this hybrid of as an architectural practice, looking at craftsmen. So I think you stand in a kind of very unique position in a way.
Yeah. I mean, we do realize, like, of course, like when I first came back here, I didn't know what this means really, and also like what is the state of like.
When did you come back?
2017.
Wow, very quick. Yeah? I mean, like that's only 5 years
4
ago.
years.
Yeah, that's not long. Yeah.
4 years. Well, it has been a while because, well, 2 years of during this time is actually in COVID, but in a way, COVID not necessarily a bad thing for us though, because it's kind of get us more time to reflect on like our relationship with others, our relationship with our studio, the community that we work with. Yeah, so it's enable us to think deeper about like what kind of like present we want to be in. Yeah, and also what kind of project we want to expose ourselves to. Yeah, and that was also the point that like we were getting some attention due to some of the public project that we put together. So there are more commission like toward that kind of public project, but then in a way then we didn't manage to kind of do the things we want to self-initiate. You see what I mean? Yeah, so I think it's a give and take. Yeah. Use referrals. Is it a problem from my end?
No, I'll pass to Rami. I think they have. I think they're going to take some questions from the floor. Yeah.
Okay.
So now moving on from the sharing session to the questions, we have a couple of questions that me and Hui Earn will ask. Some we collected from both the Facebook and the MST chat. So the first one will be, regarding the hexagonal panels, was it energy efficient to recycle the plastic? And can it be used on the future on a larger scale project? So among I think the first 5 slides, you kind of discussed a hexagonal pattern that was made out of plastics. So how energy efficient is it to recycle it itself, and can it be used in future larger scale projects?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, but to be honest, we haven't really, like with that project, it wasn't really a science project, you see what I mean? So I think we didn't really ascertain it like from the scientific point of view. But we knew that like this is something that we can, what I say, of course, this entire process is a chemical process because things merging together. But when it's come to like scientifically like ascertain like how effective it is or what is the energy consumption, we haven't done to that extent of the detail. Yeah, but it was for us, that project in a way is to set out the conversation to bring more awareness, and at the same time to look at like what is the potential use. And of course, like let's say if you have a factory scale, like if you turn it into a mass production scale, like combined with the ventilator and also the air recycling, a lot of things can be more make sense. But we were doing it in a smaller scale. Yeah. So how energy friendly that is, yeah. So this is also something that like I don't think at the beginning stage is that energy friendly. If this is what you're asking, yeah.
Okay, so I guess that should be quite a bit sufficient for that question.
Wait,
so the second one
this is like coming. This is like Aisha here. Hi, Aisha.
Hi.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Because I think I've been following Wendy I just recently found out about Wendy, and then I really like the way that she approached things, like in a way that craft in architecture. And I think that is something that I believe in as well. So I was like, when I see this, I get to come and see, listen to your
thank you. You are so kind.
Ideologies and and then because my exposure, I recently know about you and then about the project that you already done. But when you shared today, it's like kind of mind blowing. Within the 3 years, and you kind of achieve. You kind of make a movement in a way.
She froze. Is it from my
Of
end?
No, it's not from
Yeah.
here.
No.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a question that I would like to ask though, if you don't mind.
Go
I
ahead.
think because because when you first got back, you straight away you just like, you want to get in touch with the Borneo roots and all. So how do you manage to convince, like for example, the cultural organization or society to fund or to drive it in a way? Because I think from the way I see your projects, it's kind of a community driven or organization driven. So I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but for such a scale, there's a lot of people that coming together. So how do you convince such organization to do so? And yeah, that's my question.
I think it's a very interesting and important and also big question. You know why? Because I think this is also the kind of question I get a lot, like from people who interested in doing something for their hometown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Pantai Timur, so it's just like there's a lot of things that I would like. I have ideas for those. Yeah, carry on. Sorry.
Because like I was here. Okay, I came back a few years ago, but bear in mind that I was away for 15 years, so most of my connection already gone. Yeah. So when I came back, I kind of came back as in a way, like a bit like a foreigner. I need to relearn a lot of new things. Of course, there are some things that I kind of like knew it from the past experiences when I was still a child, but it's not so relevant to the today's transition. So to be honest, I would say like start from something that like you are more confident with first, because it's like if you try to navigate into the system, you will end up to becoming part of the system, and a lot of time this system is not necessarily something that you're agreeable with, because you are not agreeable with like at the first place. So that's why you wanted to do something. Yeah. So but if you go back and navigate like the system and navigate like how it works, you might end up like to be part of it. So this came from, wow, this kind of carry a lot of story, but in the way like what I'm trying to say is like, of course you can, if you can work with the community to start from, that's perfect. But how I started is actually through the crowdfunding. Like so I already got the fund like from when I was still in London, waiting to come back. So that was the point of transition in my life as well, for me personally, but also for us as an organization to look into potential of like working with different people. So that was also the way that I'm more confident with, because that crowdfunding as an instrument of bringing changes is already something that I used to. So I was using that like for one of my project in France. So I already knew what is the science and algorithm of that. Yeah, but when I first came back, like of course there will be like different attitude. Like people will be, either they are very friendly. I mean, most of the people are, but there will be also some skepticism about what you are trying to do, or seeing new things as a threat. Yeah, so I think like you won't be able to pull everyone alongside you, which is okay, and bear in mind that like you are not right for everyone. You're not right for everyone, and that is okay as well. And like while doing what you are doing, what you are comfortable with, be truthful, be honest, and that's the only way that like you can get the true ally, and also the people willing to work alongside you. But at the same time, be open, to people to work together. Yeah, so I think this is also the way. But being open, I think I kind of like generalize it, make it oversimplify. What I'm saying is like allowing a subscription model for people to come in as a partner, because a lot of time we are open, we're trying to be generous, and also we're trying to like engage more people to work with, but how do you do it? So I think like as an architect, like we already know how to analyze complex situation. So how to analyze that, how to make that complex situation of your design like thinking. Yeah, so how do you enable like more people to be part of the process? So rather than designing an outcome, like will you be willing to sometimes like compromise like the quality of the outcome and designing the process? So those are the things that you will be constantly like exposed to. Yeah, but at the beginning stage, I think it's more like, oh yeah, you want to make sure you build the community. So it's a like, despite there are potential compromisation over the quality, it's okay, because it's about like you know your relationship with them is not one off, and you know that they will be growing along the time. As you can see, like some of the project we done in the early phase to the later phase, is like it's getting more refined, because it was because of the growth of the collective like community that we engage with, you know. So it's not simply the growth of like, so looking at that transition is more meaningful than like, yeah, potentially pushing for some things happen and then ended up getting a lot of hatred from just one single project and then end of your career. So those are the things that you will be constantly exposed to along the process. Yeah.
I see. It's like for greater good, and it's intangible almost, rather than the product itself in a way, isn't it? It's just like creating a system and also connections.
Exactly, the model of subscription. Yeah, I would call it the model of subscription. But at the same time, don't try to be like, you can navigate, but don't spend all your time delve into like navigating the existing system. Yeah, because otherwise you will be trapped in it. Like I seen a lot of like frustrated, disappointed, like like young soul complaining about like things doesn't work out for them. But I would say it's like, be patient is one thing, and especially in this journey, it's not necessarily like something agreeable by all, yeah, to start from. So how do you manage that? Like, and a lot of time mentally is very important. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
No worries. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I would say I'm such a fan.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, because I think I started discover your work through Cindana.
Oh, okay.
They shared their work, and I was like, oh, hello, let's give it a look. And then like then I found out about your background in terms of architecture and craft and culture. So it just like you merge all this together in a way. So yeah, from there.
Thank you. I wish you a lot of success for the things you want to do as well.
Thank
you. Really, because yeah, I mean, like, can keep in touch in private.
Sure. Great, thanks.
All right.
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you.
So since we're still on the topic of ideologies and architecture within the community, to kind of maybe, well, taking into consideration your multitude of experience in such topic, how did you manage to convince the cultural organization or society to kind of drive the Borneo Collective projects? And also, do you think there is a general approach that one maybe would have towards community-based projects? Would it be, let's say, you have to be kind of open, let's say they critiqued you somehow, or you weren't as familiar, as you mentioned briefly, you were kind of away for like 15 years. Would it be to kind of be open to their critique and kind of implement it into your design, or would it be to have a dialogue with the people themselves?
Hey, I don't think that is something we can choose. Oh, sorry, because you froze. I thought it's like, sorry from my end, my Wi-Fi.
Oh, it's fine.
It's fine. Go ahead.
No, that's it. Okay, what do you think is like the best approach in the end?
Okay, I don't think it's something you can choose though. Like, you know, to receiving critique is something that you can't choose. Like when you come to a new place, or like having gone away for so long, because you don't know the situation. So I think like life, sometimes you can only learn something new by stepping out from your comfort zone. So at that point, I was outside my comfort zone, despite it's my hometown. And it's very important to bear in mind that like, just I think it's very similar to the last question in a way, because it's like, how do you pull people alongside you? You can't because like everyone's is busy and they have their pattern of life and pattern of work, pattern of thinking. You can't get everyone to be outside of their pattern through like some I don't know how you want to do that. Like, yeah, I think that can be only achieved by like mental violence or emotional violence, and then we don't want to do that. Yeah, so I think like it's also outside my comfort zone doing so. Is it like, yeah, and from looking at like the transition, I would say like just make sure you do it like one step at a time, you know. And sometimes we feel that like, yeah, to be successful in a short time frame, like a lot of people carry that mentality to success in an instant is so important, because you see the social media, and then you see like what is going on in the entertainment scene or media scenes. Like a lot of people just like subscribe to the idea of like, if I want to get like, you know, get known or get things done, like it has to be true and instant. And I think like during that time for me, a lot of people around me kind of seeing like going back home as a going backward. Yeah, I mean, I can be candid. I can be candid about it. Like, but how do you unravel the things they could not see? How do you do it? And a lot of time that is like really you have to do it through one step after the other, yeah, to kind of build things incrementally, because I think like that is really the way you get the buy-in from the community. You can't really get everyone to trust you when you're not really showing anything to the table. Yeah. So I think this is I think whatever project you embark on in the future, and also whatever you are working on, you will slowly realize that it has to be one step at a time, and be patient. Yeah. And it's okay, like if people dislike your way of working or thinking, and it's okay. It's their separation of tasks. Like there's a book like the courage to be disliked. So it's talk about separation of tasks. Yeah, so it's like it's only your task or their task and the God task. So always make sure that like you take care of yourself like mentally, yeah, and focus on what you're supposed to do. Yeah, because if they carry any emotion or anything, is their problem. Yeah. And if they subscribe to what if they're interested in subscribing in what you are doing, then it's good. I mean, like, give them a chance, give people a chance. Yeah. Give goodness a chance, because I think like if your vision eventually fit into the goodness, people will buy in. Yeah. Hope that answer.
It's quite a bit sufficient. Like, it was a really good insight. You touched on a point that kind of, well, nowadays you would say kind of, well, it's more, I would say more apparent in the younger generation, especially now that it's MCO. People kind of aim for the instant success, like instantly. They don't really go through a long period of doing whatever. Actually, they kind of just give up most of the time. How do you think that the traditional craftsmanship could actually be educated to the youngsters in this generation, especially taking in consideration the online learning and all that? How would you think maybe we could kind of get them more involved in the craft, since you were able to kind of see the community itself and how they kind of functioned, and you got to be with them for a little while? Do you have any take on that?
I think on that one, like there are several ways of like answering it. Yeah. So I think the angle that I want to take on is like, if you look at the world we are in right now, is like it's dominated by consumerism. So with the consumerism, it's like the attention is the currency. Yeah. So that's why like people spending time to nurture attention. Yeah. To create like a point of attention. And there's also another book you guys will be interested, The Society of Spectacles, because it's a book for I don't know, 40 years or 50 years back, but it was already like vividly describing the world we are in right now. It's a society of spectacle, like people creating spectacle in order to get the attention. And at the same time, like when people just want to have like instant spectacle, they stop creating spectacles. They just follow spectacles. so and it's quite sad in a way, because it's like people stop being authentic and original and having a different voice and fearful of being different, because it's like everyone is just a duplication of like certain spectacles, and that's certainly the things that like we don't want to be to end up in as part of the society. Yeah, so but at the same time, like we can't stop things moving, like the word is like from ICQ to Facebook to, well, it's exposed my age when I talk about ICQ.
I don't think they know ICQ.
Yeah,
you and I, we know ICQ.
Yeah.
Tengah go through talk juga ni. Tapi saya boleh hantar dalam 4.5 lah. Hok papa nak adik. Dengan file.
I guess her mic is not muted.
Yeah, probably I'm like,
I was just wondering.
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't sure.
No worries. And then to Instagram, and today I was just talking to a friend of mine about TikTok, and yesterday as well. Yeah, so you can't stop like social media from evolving, but at the same time, like there are something quite optimistic about what is the world we are in right now, and I think it's linked to pandemic, it's linked to COVID. It's like people actually spending more time at home to themselves and to think about meanings, to think about life, to think about death. Yeah, because I think it's in contrast to one another. I think on the flip side, you think about life when you think about death, and at the same time, like when this is going on, you will also see people start like not simply consuming, they are start to be a producer, so it's like there's also another book that I want to bring out to you guys, like called The Third Wave. Yeah, so Third Wave, Alvin Toffler. So read that book, because that book was written 40 years ago, and it's already describing like what we are today, what happened to our world today. So the society we were in is in the second wave. Second wave is very consumer driven, and so your process and your goal and your solution is the market. So everything is toward the market. So that is also why we need the population to be maxified. Because when the population is maxified, like you have the production and you have the consumer, so the system is actually like an ongoing system. But I think what is outside the equation is our natural resources, is our earth. Actually, is limited. So at that point, like there is no forecast on that. So that's why like second wave war is a failure. It's a failure because of the situation we are in. Yeah, but because of the evolution of IT, you see like people realizing they can work at home, they can be productive at home, they can do a lot of things like from their hometown. They don't need to be in a massified like area like for example metropolitan or city. So you can also do things like from your hometown. So this is also something quite uplifting. Yeah. I mean, like we are moving, like we're trying to be that, like, to kind of sit under that umbrella of like, the third wave, part of the third wave movement. But we already, because of this pandemic, we see that happening already across Malaysia and across like the world. So this is something that like I would say, like, don't be pessimistic, take the optimistic end and looking at, how could I add on to this third wave, like society narrative? How could I be the consumer and at the same time the producer? Yeah, of course, under this narrative of the society, there's a risk because there's a lack of majority. So you're not necessarily getting the democracy because people believing in different things. But the beauty of it is like you're not necessarily worshipping like a singular role model. There are different role models. So it's happening in our architectural work. So in the past, I still remember in when I was in uni, yeah, like it seems to me that like worldwide was talking about structuralism, and then constructionism, and then the modernism, and then the postmodernism, and then Zaha, and then deconstructionism. So like that line of like architectural theory is so dominant, but it's really, does it really belong to us? Does it really suitable to our context? So these are the things that like we need to reflect. And now that we get time to create alternatives, so because we are in the third wave, exactly because we are in this situation, we can reflect and we can challenge. We can have different line of thought to put against that singular role model or recipe. Yeah, I hope that answer.
Yeah, thank you actually for elaborating actually beyond the answer. Not only did we get the answer, we got context, we got history, we got a lot. So thank you for the elaboration. So in regards of your works, since, well, at least I kind of did my research.
Rami.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Rami, sorry. Can we take Clarissa's question from the Facebook? Clarissa, you wanna...
Is it Clarissa Lin?
Yeah, Clarissa Lin. Yeah, I think you all know each other.
Yeah, sure. Clarissa's supposed to come here.
Say hi. Or yeah.
Sure.
Is Clarissa?
Okay, she asked, what is a creative agency?
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, I thought she was here. She did join. Okay, can we answer the question?
Yeah.
Or do you want me to elaborate?
Okay, what is a creative agency? Ah, yes, there you are. Clarissa, hi.
Hi.
Hey, Clarissa.
I'm trying to turn on my camera, but I don't know if it works. Hi. I guess I was asking about, because on Facebook it was incredibly laggy. I didn't really watch most of the talk, but I was asking about like, because you kind of frame Borneo Lab as a creative agency, so I'm like really interested in like thinking about how do you pitch to all these like large multinational corporations, and how do you like get those jobs, because you work with some incredible brands and incredible kind of international orgs and things like that. So I'm interested in that process, and how you work with your team, because it's not only just you, right? Although you are usually the face. So how does that work? So yeah, and I hope to come to Kuching soon.
Yeah, you were talking about that. We were talking about that. So yeah, like hope everything well from your end as well. Yeah, like with your project and also with the thing that you are doing. So I think for the creative agency parts, right? Like at the beginning when I first came back, like what I launched actually was like Borneo Art Collective. So that was a point that like it was a NPO, you know, non-profit organization. But what's that means? Like when you have to like make it sustainable. And in Malaysia, there's no such thing as social enterprise. Exactly. And I think like that is a struggle for most of the cultural practitioner over here. Yeah. You can raise your hand. Like I want to see how many. Yeah. So most of the struggle of the cultural practitioner here is like our system is not mature enough to kind of handle like the situation of like, okay, a full-timer on like cultural practice. So our option for the cultural practice like format is actually quite limited. Yeah. So most of the cultural practice that I know actually register themselves as limited company in Malaysia. Yeah. And that's the way that they can get things going. But at the same time, because of some of the work that like being featured, so we start getting the attention. So not simply my architectural firm side, like getting the job, but also the Borneo Lab side. Like so that's why we kind of restructure, yeah, and looking at ways of like making more meaningful project with the brands. Yeah, but to be honest, we didn't really pitch for the brands though. Like it was what they saw like during the process, and then they came to us. So I don't know, I want to be helpful in this, but in a way, it's like they really saw what was going on, and then they slowly like also buy into the ideas, and also they wanted to experiment. So yeah, so at the moment, I wouldn't say we already figured out the recipe of like working with big brands, but it would just like believe in people really, because you'll be surprised. Like even in the big company, even in the corporate. I was from a corporate. What I'm talking about, I was from a corporate, so I know how to. Of course, I know like the code of corporate, but at the same time, like there is a lot of like idealistic people, visionary people, like inside the corporate, willing to put things together. And a lot of time, like with this kind of collaboration, you manage to push things faster and bigger as well. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I really want to be helpful on that, but I don't have the recipe of like, yeah, you have to send out so how many like postcard in order to get the job thing. Yeah.
No, I think that also your process of documentation is very intensive, right? So
yeah, we spent a lot
perhaps
of time on the writing, and also like reflecting on the details. Yeah, but if I mean like Syrian would know, like there are a few people here, they will know, like I'm actually like we are quite introverted in our setup. We don't go to people. Like a lot of time it was like people, not just because of the MCO, even beyond the MCO, we were already like like working like hermit. Yeah, but this is also the why we know this can be sustainable, because this is the way how we like it, and we attract the people already understood. Yeah, so we don't have to go through so much pitching. Not that I discounting the value of pitching. I think if you're good at that, good for you. Yeah, but I think on our end, we just wish to focus on the things we like, and also focus on driving the things that we're believing in our hands right now. Yeah. Hope that helps.
Thank you. Sure, it's important to discuss this.
Yeah, I guess since we were just on the topic of kind of the work ethic and basically the job itself, what do you think is the project, well, one that you were involved in that kind of had the most impact on you, or the community rather? Which one was it? Was there multiple? Was there one specific one that kind of impacted you personally and the community around you?
Well, I can't really pick the favorite one from all the children's, like, because I think each of them are different. I would say, like, for example, instrument was a starting point. Yeah, like we really start working and looking at the working context. But then, like, origin also has a like strong meanings because of the presence of it, and exactly it is in the center, like the zero point of Kuching. Yeah, so it's kind of marking the origin. Yeah, and but I think what really impacted me wasn't really just the outcome, but the process of it, the conversation of it. I always find like otherwise I wouldn't do it anyway. Yeah, so I think like you can only do something you enjoy, and I want to make sure that this is also mentally sustainable. Yeah, so what I really enjoy, like personally, like if this is the question that you are asking, is really the conversation you develop alongside, because you like the fact that you are seeing people growing, and you are seeing people developing themselves. And recently, like the latest conversation we have in the studio is like, yeah, like, you know, we should work out, we should do, like, especially use this MCO like effectively, like so you are seeing like, yeah, people are getting better, and also like, you know, the craftsmen you are working with, they are getting more skillful. Yeah, and also the younger one in the studio becoming more like hands-on, and also more understandable, like with the context, developing good project. So yeah, so I think like all the time, and seeing the community, you know, coming together, donated like the plastic bottles. So there's no favorite. I mean, like those are all the favorite moments I have, but it's hard for me to kind of pinpoint. Yeah, but it's definitely different from when I was in, let's say, my experience in the metropolitan. I would say the human experience side is actually lacking. Yeah, because bear in mind that as metropolitan, I bet it's the same in KL. Most of the people go there for production, for work. And at one point, they're all thinking about like moving back home. But it's just like the matter of when. Yeah. So it's probably KL is still okay because the size of it is not to the scale of like, you know, the big metropolitan. But then how do you develop the conversation alongside, you know? So are people really interested, you know? So these are the question. And I felt that like the experience in the metropolitan and the experience like being in Kuching in Malaysia is very different because of I think over here in a way is more enriching because of the community aspect. Yeah, but when it's come to the metropolitan, it's more like, yeah, everyone is just like, my job is not to be likable. My job is to perform my professional best. Yeah, which is also something that I'm believing in as well. But the mentality being there, the present is very different. Yeah.
So you would say it's kind of more enriching to kind of go through the process of having a dialogue, speaking with the people themselves, and let's say in a smaller environment instead of, let's say, in a corporate environment where you just might have a deadline.
I didn't say that.
You have a final,
I didn't say corporate is bad.
And you have a final product at the end.
I would say corporate. Okay, I'm grateful for all my corporate experience. I'm grateful for all my corporate like exposure. but at the end of the day, there are so many good things in life on earth that you can't have everything. I mean, I learned a lot from delivering so-called high-tech building, sustainable development, mass scale city, or master plan. But at the same time, I think I went through like 4 years of hesitance, like whether to kind of jump the boat to you know, to come back to Borneo to do this thing. So like it might seem to you that, wow, it has been a short time like for you to develop all these things. But in fact, can you imagine? I mean, do you include that hesitance, years of hesitance? Do you include that years of like waiting for you know, or to kind of like comparing? Because I think each of them are, whatever you take in life, like people will be, if you of course you have to make sure that you have work ethic. Yeah, so people will be admiring your position. Yeah, so I think like the career in Foster and Partners is actually quite glamorous, just because that is the dream of a lot of like, yeah, so-called young architect. Yeah, and also the kind of exposure you get to see like, yeah, the moon base being designed, all the Apple store being designed, like, you know, the exposure of it, and also the conversation you are dealing with like some of the most cleverest people in the world. So that experience itself is quite exciting. But at the same time, like eventually, if I want to look at all this project with vernacular wisdom, or the project with like dealing with the craftsman community, it's not necessarily the case, because I think like with the corporate, with Foster environment, is looking at the project with certain budget. So anything below that, it wouldn't come to the door of Foster. So with the kind of project that like I'm doing, it's actually on a different spectrum. Yeah, but I am grateful for all these experiences, because I have really good mentor, probably the best mentor in Foster. So of course, like my leaving probably was also come across as a surprise for a lot of people, because I seem to be like, you know, quite well in the corporate environment. But I think we ought to be honest. We ought to be honest with oneself. Hope that answer. Yeah.
That was, well, quite great actually, since, well, taking into consideration you've kind of seen both worlds, you've experienced both, kind of went through both of them. So I guess now I'll pass to Hoi Earn.
Oops, sorry. Yeah, sure. So I'll carry on the following questions. So the next question is about like taking into consideration of your own experience and multiple ventures that you work on now. So do you have any advice or insight that you would like to give to today's audience, since we are mostly comprised of architecture students and for the future? Yeah.
I think recently I've been having a lot of conversation with my student, like that I've been teaching online. So I think there's a lot of concern over the transition for the architectural work. And I would say at the moment, especially in Malaysia, it's getting obvious. Actually, we had similar conversation last year about how the architectural work kind of shifting from a market oriented into more option for career development, which is in a way could be a good thing. Yeah, but a lot of time students who still believing in the so-called old recipe. So what I spoke about, like, you know, the modernism, the postmodernism, the consumerism, the capitalism, like you will feel frustrated in that situation because it's like it seems to a lot of younger one, you will need to expand your skill. Yeah, and those skills are not necessarily just software. And it's kind of like, yeah, because I still remember in my uni days, like, as long as you can perform well in the software, you know that you are settled. You're okay. Yeah, but nowadays it's not. Yeah, you need to work beyond that. And I think because why was that? Why was the situation was like that? I think like maybe some of the school in Malaysia still also feel the same. Like if you want to be good, it means that you need to achieving like certain level or certain expertise in certain like skill or software. But you know, because of the shift of the consumerism to more like localism focus, yeah, it's things has changed, and also the framework of the market has changed. Yeah, so I think a lot of young students at this point is very important to really look beyond the so-called conventional education framework, because the education a lot of time, sorry, because I know this is a university, yeah, but a lot of time university is kind of, the conversation we had over here is like is trying to produce market-proof student, which could be quite a crisis. Yeah, when the market is shifting. And probably the market is not even there anymore. So what do you do with that? Like, so I think it's very important to be alert, and when you get to and do see the crisis as an opportunity to try out new things, to try out new skill, to even, like, let's say volunteer, like some of our volunteer for the community project, they are students. Yeah, and those are the one that like really actively thinking about, like, yeah, what I could offer to the community, what I could offer to the situation. So I think it's important to carry that mindset, because if you always want to take from the society, if you always want to take from the market, if you are this kind of taker mentality, I don't think you can go far. Yeah, but if you are there to give, who can stop you really? Who can? Yeah. So I think it's also the mindset, like, you know, need to be shifted, because I think a lot of time in the past education framework, when it is looking at producing the market-proof student, your skill is already, the palette of your skill and the knowledge is already predefined. And there's no such thing. In fact, there's an illusion, because market itself is also an abstract concept that recently we found out, in fact, looking at the big picture, it doesn't work, and it will change. It has to change. So you know, don't try to see this as a transitional time, because it's not a transitional period. It's something that we will need to work with for a long terms. I'm talking about this pandemic, this Anthropocene.
Yeah, I guess there's a lot of learning from there. Yes.
Thank you. I'll put in just a sec. What are you there? What?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening in. It's a very good conversation about the marketplace.
Yes, I was wondering if you can comment on that. Yeah.
Well, I think I agree with Wendy for creating your own. I mean, I use the word brand very loosely. You know, you have to create your own market actually, because the market comes to you. You don't go and look for the market. The market isn't there actually. You create the market, because when there's a demand for, you know. See, the thing with creativity is that because it's a system here, like, you know, Wendy is right. Like, you put up the question of what is it you're learning for. It's like you're going out there to capture a certain economy, but there's nothing there out there. Actually, it's just there's nothing out there. So you have to create, like, you know, with architecture as well. I think if you're looking for a guy to come and, you know, call you up and say, hey, I got a condominium, but I mean, we're not interested in condominium, not too many condominiums, but if a client call you up, it's not because there's a condominium project out there. You have to go and approach the client and say, hey, there's a piece of land here. Will you be interested to look at doing something? You know, you have to almost like do the reverse now. You know, you have to be your own client, I think. The tough question has to be that I think I look at the work that Wendy does, right? It's kind of very, very interesting, because it kind of marries the two, because you're from the Butler, so the Butler has a B Pro postgraduate people who are very special students who have interest in like working with things like clay and mud and hair and cardboard, you know. And I think it's something that we don't look at very closely enough. I think we always look at concrete and glass and aluminium, you know, and then we go back to concrete, and then of course we add another thing called bricks, so that we've got 4 things, and then we just settle for that, you know. But I think that whole idea of using technology to help you to pursue something other than what you already been taught in schools, I think is very important. So I like the fact that you can also bridge what I consider to be like theory and practice, because you throw in a lot of books, which I think is very important. And reading is something like a culture that we don't have in Malaysia. And
can I promote for my book club? Yusra, would that be rude?
I think I put on my camera and just walk you through my library. And, you know, like you got a whole stack of books behind you. But yeah, I think when I see an architecture student walking around with like a book by Henry David Thoreau or something, it's like, you know, my heart weeps, you know, because that's a real, you know, it's a treasure to. It's kind of like, I think reading. I mean, like even like yesterday when I was talking to Yusra and I, we got a class in. What is it like? I'm doing 2 or 3 theory classes, which is very, very interesting. But in the design projects, right, in design classrooms, we always ask them, say, oh, okay, what are you reading these days? And they say, oh, sir, you're mixing it up. I'm in the design studio. And I said, what do you mean I'm mixing it up? It's all the same one thing, you know. You don't like, you go into one class, you take out your pencil, and the other class you start to like use Google, you know. You're the one and same mind, right? So basically, the bridge is always the problem, because people think to look at creativity, like, you know, that's why I think I find your work very intriguing, because you put like parametrics, you put what was that, the thing that you used, the I never remember the CAD cam, you know, like what's the thing, the 3D printer. You use 3D printer to print and your 3D printer that does using the mud to create bowls or something, you know. So technology is not something evil, you know. And I think we've been taught like, we go to class means you have to use a hammer and a nail and a bit of glue, you know. That's not true, you know. Creativity can go with science, or rather science can be your partner. And I think you're one of the very few people who like look at science as a partner, you know. So science is good. You're already such an organic person, or so-called, I call it a mineral-based person, but you then have science as your as your partner. And I think this is something that a lot of young people have to be. I think it's very good advice to them that don't stay away from technology. Don't be afraid of technology. AI is friendly. ML is fine. It's a way of how you merge and bring the two together. That's my comment. My observation throughout the whole talk was that you're able to bring. Because technology is here to stay, and there's a lot of very good engineering, robotic knowledge, and everything else that's happening. That we shouldn't turn our back to it and say, "Oh, you know what I'm getting at, Darren? It's like we don't want people to think that technology is one route, and then and then plaster and paint is another route, and say, "Oh, I rather you have to pick between the two." The idea is you don't pick, you don't have to pick. It's like just make the two come together. It's the best. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm quite agreeable to that. Yeah.
Okay. I guess we got a lot of learning from there also. Okay. So we'll go for the next question. The following question is more in details about the things you shared before. So one question is the part where the lady joins the broken utensil with a black paste with another material. Was that inspired from the old Japanese tradition of repairing broken ceramics with gold?
Oh, you mean kintsugi? Yes. You are talking about Jip Mohan. Yeah, the Thailand. Yeah, so that pieces was inspired by the Japanese technique, kintsugi. But kintsugi, in fact, there are different forms of it around the world. So it's not simply in Japan. Just like, the tea art is not just Japanese. It's not just part of Japanese culture, because if you go to Iran, you will find tea as well, as precious, as full of culture. Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay. All right. So next is about the exhibition of the story that you showed in the last.
Yes.
So will there be any platform showcasing the exhibition? Besides that, we are not in Kuching.
So you are talking about doing a digital show online.
Yeah.
Transforming it into a digital. I think we will need to look at that, because it's quite impactful when you look at the object being able to achieve such thing, and I think you get the idea better when you see the tangible thing. But at the same time, having done several virtual reality show before, I do feel that this is also something that we will need to look into. But I felt that at this point, probably a higher resolution video, what I showed just now, or a higher resolution photo to kind of showcase, to break down. So if you go to Borneo Lab website right now, the video is already running since yesterday. Sorry, something wrong with the 3D printer. Yeah. And people can click into the link, and you will be able to see the issue, the publication we uploaded. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Then I guess we can go for searching more info from there. Okay.
Yep.
So next is about how structurally stable are walls made of dirt. And since the video showed 3D printing of mud materials, and is there any materials that can be 3D printed also?
So many. Now people already 3D printing steel. So I think you can, as long as you know how to work with the temperature, the nozzle, and also the ways of, we are quite lucky over here because we work quite closely with our partners, our supplier, our partners. So they manage to kind of amend or adjust the machine according to our use. So and they're quite open for this type of collaboration as well. So that's why, but of course you need to have trusted partners. That this is also something that we didn't get 3 years back, 4 years back, but now people aware of the goodness from this kind of potential collaboration. Yeah.
All right. And then the first question of just now is how structurally stable are walls made of dirt? I guess this is kind of scientific also.
But I think this is certainly something that we can answer, because I think we are looking at different there are different form of soil can be used in in construction methods. So what we are doing currently is the finishing and also the cladding. But when it's come to like the structure, you ought to look at the rump earth. Yeah, follow our podcast series. It's on the website, and then we spoke about that. And over there, like there is a quite a elaborative sharing on the rump earth, like the technology and also what it can be done. Yeah, but I think like more material, more natural material being incorporated in our construction is in a way is a healthier one, because you don't want to end up like subscribing from too much material that you can only import from somewhere else. Yeah. And that is also quite second wave society. I'm not saying that second wave society is wrong, but it's the standardization, the massification. You know, behind all this framework, there's a lot of people suffer from it. Yeah. So how do you make sure that like whatever you do can actually impact your local community more meaningfully? It's quite important. Even our conversation is also a very globalized one, and we spoke about that. Yeah.
All right. So here comes our last question for now. So which material considered to be the most challenging material of all to work with from your experience?
I think the challenge is all different though. Yeah. I think, okay, I can only, because I think for the bamboo one, it's like we really lose the skill. We really don't have the skill to work with. So we need to figure out many things, like from our trip, from our travel, from our conversation with other country in Southeast Asia, in order to regain some of the hunch of like how to work with it. And when it comes to like other material like rattan or timber bark, it's really about the sourcing of it. It's hard to source those material, nowadays. And when it comes to like timber material, is quite like we are quite fortunate. It's still quite a lot of it, but I'm not agreeable like people only looking at certain material as the so-called like the champion material, because there is no such thing. Yeah. And I think that you being architect and also being designer, you ought to kind of like seeing all the material equally and put them in the best use under different condition. Yeah. So rather than kind of worshipping certain, giving a
title,
like a crown, a title of like certain material is better than the other. I don't believe in that. Yeah. But we are lucky because we do have like a series of material to work with, and for the tinsmith in Kuching is quite lucky because we still have the tinsmith street, which we can work with. But at the same time, we want to address to people like if we not creating like project like this, they will end up becoming part of the massification market, and they won't be able to perform their best. So I think it's really, the challenge is not about like which material. It's really about like what community issue, because I think it will be quite superficial to talk about material pretending it doesn't carry any context. All
right. Okay. So do anyone wanna add on anything?
Hi, Miss Wendy. My name is Yogis here. I actually did a small research yesterday based on your website, and also I came up with, I would say, a lot of questions here, around 20 questions. So I hope we have time for it. So we just go through that really quickly. So before we move to the questions,
wait. You want to answer 20 questions?
But the 20 questions are mostly like one word answer, like pa pa pa. So it goes quite fast.
Okay, right. Wait.
So,
I mean, we have to ask Wendy first. I mean, like, how are we with time, Wendy? Maybe
I think it should be, let's see,
10 minutes.
10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes is good. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think we have to wrap up in 10 minutes. Okay.
All right. Okay. Then I the more important questions in those 10 minutes. All right. So before we go into the question, I just wanted to give a quick brief of the types of questions that I prepared. So basically, some of the questions that I prepared are tied back to an assignment that we have to do. Is that basically we have to choose a particular person who is related to the Bornean craft making or whatever. So I was wondering, like, who do you choose? And then it struck my mind, like, wait, I have a lecture tomorrow, and then what's that is like the best option that I have right now. I can just ask you any questions, necessarily directly, so that I can use those information for my assignment. So basically what I have to do is that I have to sort of get to know you better, so that I can make a collage or sort of like a storyboard based on you. And then that will be seeing a space designated for you personally. So first of all, I'll just go through the first questions that. Yeah.
I think you answer only one. I mean, we need to wrap up now. Okay. I mean, if you want to, sorry. I mean, if you want just one. Yeah. I mean, because if you want, you email her. You can email her, perhaps.
Yeah.
We have 10 minutes. You guess. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that will be a better option as well. So.
Okay, so I think it's best.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure,
because
sure,
that's
sure.
kind of very
in that
personal.
case, can I just? Yeah. So. I think I saw your email on the website. So can I just send all the questions directly to your email?
Yeah, would be better. Would be better that way, because otherwise you are helping other people to fulfill their assignment as well, isn't it?
Yep.
All right. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, it's okay. No worries. Okay. No worries. Right. Then I think I just list down all the questions, and I just send it to you.
All right.
Is there room for one last question? Since your guest.
Nisa, come on, Nisa.
Okay. Yes.
Anyways, Wendy. I mean, you know, right? You've met.
Yeah, we talked briefly. We talked briefly in the beginning, right? So I'm one of the tutors teaching semester 2. I actually have. Okay, I'll choose one question that I want to ask. I have multiple questions, but since we are running out of time. Okay, just to give a slight context, me and my friend, we're really interested in what you are looking into, particularly the intersection between craft, science, people, architecture, because me and my friend also came from that background. So what we start doing is kind of gather like-minded people and try to highlight their stories through Instagram. So we kind of start this makeshift grassroots Instagram page where we have conversations with different craftsmen and artists. So I think we've kind of struggled a lot with keeping the momentum going. So I was wondering if you ever went through like a creative burnout or kind of doubt along the journey. How do you handle? How do you keep the momentum going or the pace going? Because you are such in a niche subject and quite a small voice on top of that. So really looking for advice in that sense.
Well, it's quite a question, because I think this is also something that, like, combining with the earlier question, is something that along the way you will face. Yeah, because it's not going to be, and a lot of time, like as I mentioned earlier, like when I first came back, like a lot of people around me kind of seeing this as a step backward rather than forward. Yeah, just imagine you kind of step from the corporate and then comes to I mean, like, who knows Kuching, who knows Malaysia? Like, Malaysia is like really if we are here thinking that Malaysia is like, it's a country, it's a big country in Southeast Asia, but in fact no, like in the world, in the metropolitan, a lot of people doesn't not even know how to locate like Malaysia. So I think in facing doubt, is something that, like, you would think it's just a transition, but it's going to be constant. If you think that, like, when you are in even like doing what we are doing, there are also doubt, which is all right, and I think like I think it's like, how do you condition, how do you regulate yourself, how do you regulate your heart in order to make sure that, like, you can cope with like different situations. But I think the ultimate goal is ultimate things that you want to do is like, is it something that, like, you wanted to achieve or do, or like what you enjoy, and make sure you enjoy the process rather than just the outcome. Because if you only only trying to achieve the outcome, you will be very frustrated. Yeah. You will be very frustrated, like along the process, the kind of process that you need to drag through. So if the process is not enjoyable, you know there are something need to be changed. Yeah. What my advice to that? Because I think like there are so many things I can say about this. Yeah. But there are some people that are outcome oriented. Nothing wrong about that, because I think a good outcome can also bring you to somewhere. Yeah. And I personally experienced that a lot. Like, but at the same time, if the process is not enjoyable, the entire thing is not sustainable, because you are not putting yourself inside the equation. And you are basically, if you are not doing it, who else are doing it? You see what I mean? So you want to make sure that like along the process, you yourself, you are sustainable in that sense, like mentally, you know, or tangibly. Like it's like, how do you make sure along the process you can keep going with it? And how do you like regulate like the sense of success in it? Because if your sense of achievement is just toward like, yeah, the perfect outcome, just like, you know, a very, how do you say, like hygienic architect. Yeah. But it won't get you that like at the beginning of what you're trying to, when you're starting out for the initiative. Yeah. So process. Be process driven rather than outcome driven. Yeah.
I think that's quite a good practical advice. I mean, it applies to everyone, also to the students, you know. Process.
The process matters.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I guess.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Okay. So I think that should be the conclusion of our session today. So thank you very much for Wendy for the informative and engaging lecture. And then I'm sure everyone will leave today's lecture having gained valuable advice and insight. So thanks again for the people joining us. And please don't forget to fill out the survey form I'll be sending into the chat room. So thank you all for your time, and we appreciate all of your feedback. So yeah, that's it for today. And yeah.
Thank you, Wendy.
No
worries. I mean, that was really. No, I think it was very inspiring for students, especially. Yeah? Even for me, you know.
I hope it's helpful though, because when you talk about the project, I'm quite excited for you guys. Really, the Bajau community project. So this is fit into that, right? Or
yes, it's for that. Yeah. So hopefully, we'll invite you. I mean, if you're free for the crit, and see what you're up to.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we will catch up separately. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.